Hey everyone, it is Wednesday, March 8th, 2017, and it's time to go to work on music. Today's been an interesting day, just kind of going through a lot in my personal life right now, and I'm happy that I have some really good people around me who I can share that with, and that hasn't always been the case, so it's really nice to appreciate those folks when they're there. And it's good to remind ourselves, like, it's so awesome when other people are in a little bit of need, whether it be emotionally or physically or whatever, for us to just come through for them, even if it's for like 10 minutes or a moment, or giving someone $1 on the street, or just being there for someone who's, wants to talk about something and you can listen and just let them open up about themselves or their life and just get a little bit of empathy, a little bit of human connection. And I'm not going to say like, oh yeah, it's going to solve all the world's problems or something, but like, it's a good reminder when we get that of like how, just how powerful that is when we can provide it to other people. So that's definitely on my mind right now. But outside of that, everything's really good. I'm excited for a good session today. Going to do some online classwork, share some of what I'm learning with you guys. I'm going to, I think today's a drum day, or maybe no, today's a guitar day. I'm pretty sure. Sorry, I've been working a lot recently, and we're gonna work through some online class material for guitar. I'll share what I'm learning with you guys there, and then I'm also gonna move forward on the production front with this new record I'm writing, and talk to you guys about the bass line I tracked yesterday, some of the sonics of that, and if that sucks, then we got to retrack it. And if it's really like absolutely ridiculously unbeatably good, then we'll move forward with that track and maybe work on some horn sections or some guitar parts. So let's get into it. Nothing too revelatory out of that learning session. Um, just wrapping up the effect parameters session of the effects lesson from the music technology class, just talking about VST plugins, AU plugins, like the way plugins operate, for standard formats, a little bit about automation, a little bit about what master tracks are. I mean, mostly stuff that I'm familiar with, but I'm picking up little details here and there that are really, really helpful, and that's kind of what that class is all about, just hitting the foundations. Like, I just don't think you can know that stuff too well. So that was great, and then I was doing a little bit more Led Zeppelin research. Got kind of sidetracked because on their Wikipedia page I was reading about all these unreleased tracks, versions of songs that I hadn't heard before, so I was listening to some of those, and there is so much vibe and feel in a Led Zeppelin track, man. I mean, let's be honest, they're one of the greatest bands of all time, and, you know, that means a lot. Not only are they incredible instrumentalists, but they also wrote great songs. They made great recordings. They did great live performances. It's like, that's what we all aspire to. Or, I guess I can't say we all do that, but I definitely aspire to that level of impact, I guess, musically. I'm not saying I'm trying to emulate Led Zeppelin in the strictest sense, but like emulate I want to seek what they sought. You know what I'm saying? Like the results that they got are just incredible, and I don't know that I would ever want to be that well known, or have that much mania or hype surrounding what I do. But musically, I want to be on that level. I want to be able to capture the best of what they did, sonically and as artists and as business people, and just as badass human beings. So just looking for ways to integrate that into my own style and my own goals and ambitions, and it's really valuable to just soak up that information and that history. People say the tree can't grow without the roots. I think, again, I just don't think you can be too well educated about your influences and what they were about, and just absorb as much of their power as you can. So now I'm going to get into a guitar session and learn. Alright, so what I'm doing right now is working through this online guitar class called Musicism, and it's put on by some British folks who are great guys, from what I can tell. And the reason I got into it is that the instructor is a guitarist who I really, really like. He's in a band called Dorje and also in a band called Tosca. And I just really like his sound. He's got this really classic rock feel, and you can tell he's got a lot of great classic rock influences. But he also sounds really modern, and he's got his own style that's really fresh and just really good. So a lot of talent and a lot of feeling in his playing. I also like the music that they make, so I got into them through their music through a band. I think I saw a video on YouTube or something, and I was like, wow, these guys are making some great stuff. So I did a little digger deeping, and it turns out that they have an online guitar class. So I was like, great, I'm going to take that because I was kind of fizzling out with my previous teacher. I mean, that was a really positive experience on the knowledge front, but for some reason we just weren't vibing on the personal or student teacher front, and I could kind of feel it, and I think he could kind of feel it also. So I think it was just time to move on and transition to something else. And I also am going through a phase of my playing and learning where I, I feel like when people give each other advice, they're usually, like when people give you advice, they're usually giving you advice to become more like they are. And I don't know if that's always intentional, but I think that's just sort of our own inherent subjectivity. If people ask us for advice, we give our opinion about it. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to learn, I should learn from people whose style I really do want to emulate. And I realized I had a lot of teachers in the past who were great teachers, but like I didn't want to become like they were in terms of the types of players that they were. It wasn't that there weren't things about their playing that I didn't admire or enjoy. I just thought, if I'm going to learn from someone, I should learn from people who, top pros. Like if that's who I want to be, then I should learn from those people. So this was a great opportunity to do exactly that, and it's working out great so far. So I'm just going through the super basic lessons, start to finish. I tend to be a very like linear learner, and I like to do things, start to finish, like really meticulously. So I'm starting with the beginner lessons. I think there was one like holding the guitar was the first one. I think the second one was choosing a pick or something like that. So now I just did the fretting and thumb placement one, which is awesome. I mean, it's really clear, really well taught. It's a really good class. It's not free. I think it's like 15 bucks a month, and there's some discounts if you buy the months in bulk. Um, and yeah, I'm loving it. It's well produced, really high quality. Um, the thing is that the dashboard tracking is just okay. They don't like save your place where you were in the video last time you saw, and they don't show you how many videos you've watched, so that's kind of on you. And I wish it was more like Coursera where it just like picked up where I left off last, which is really nice, but it's still super valuable. And yeah, I'm picking up small things, I mean, I'm in the beginner part of the lesson, and so um, you know as a non-beginner player per se, in the in the sense that we're not all beginners like some Buddhist Zen thing or something. Um, there's a lot that I'm already familiar with, but I'm also picking up some good tips, and it's also nice to get this dude's perspective on those essentials. I think that that's something that I've found varies from player to player, and when you're talking about master level people, it's like they view those essentials differently, I think, than intermediate players do. So that's been fun. Like, for example, I didn't know much about guitar woods, like the different types of woods that are used in guitar, why you would use a different wood on the body than on the neck. And that came up, or even on the fretboard versus the neck, and that came up in one of the original lessons where he was just explaining what the parts of the guitar were. And I thought, oh man, like, it's just like I was saying about the music technology class, it's like you can't know those basics, those essentials too well. So I'm really enjoying it. So I think what I'm going to do is get back into it for another. I'm going to start the next lesson because the last one was like pretty much just like, okay, I get that, and get into that, and then I'm going to do a little bit of singing practice. And oh, that's the other thing with Musicism. When you pay for the monthly subscription, you get singing lessons, and they're working on a music production course, which sounds pretty interesting. So looking forward to that. So let's get back into it. A good vocal session. I really haven't been singing or working on my voice a ton super recently. Although at the end of last year I was doing some songwriting, which and for live performance, which always is reasonably vocally intensive, just because you're singing the songs over and over and over and over again. And I've realized the voice, it's like any other instrument. You got to start slowly, warm it up, and if there's certain parts that you can't nail from the beginning, you got to slow it down, do a lot of reps, and you can really train. You really can train your voice to sound the way that you want it to. So I think the next step for me is learning other people's songs, emulating some stylistic variations, and just building my repertoire of vocal covers. So if I'm at a party or a hangout session and there's an acoustic guitar, I can bust something out that I feel reasonably good about, if not great about. One day would be great. And then also just working on my control for my own songs, making sure my vocal delivery is good. And that's something I worked on quite a bit a couple years ago, because I really felt that my vocals were the weak point of my music writing, maybe like 2012 to 2014-ish, something like that. And I really just wanted to be more confident about that and get better at that. And as I started working on it, I started getting a lot of good feedback about it. A lot of people were like, "Oh, I like the way your voice sounds," or "You've got a great voice." And that's always nice. I think it's one of the things that's most difficult for me to have an outside perspective on. So I just work on it, and I've over time just come to accept that, like, when seeking perfection out of the human voice is an interesting process. I think it's more about just making things sound good and emotive, and like conveying the message of the story of the song with the quality of your voice, rather than like having perfect pitch or having things be perfectly in tune, although obviously tonality is extremely important, or having like the perfect timbre or something. It's like I don't necessarily want my voice to sound like clinically, like clinical, clean and smooth. Just the way that's not my style on any of my instruments. I do like to have a little bit of grit in there, but a lot of control also. So that's what I'm working on. I'm going to get into this production stuff now, listen back to some of the bass takes I did yesterday, and just audition them, see which ones I like best, see if I want to retrack them. I don't know if I'm going to retrack anything today, so I'm certainly hoping everything there is going to turn out well. I guess I can always go back and retrack it later if I don't like it. But yeah, I just want to hear the sounds, get a different perspective on it, and then move forward with that either way. So let's do it. All right, really, really good session today. Just loving it, having back-to-back awesome days, and this is really what this year is about for me. Is just every day, just cranking, cranking, cranking as hard as I possibly can on the music front, just busting it out, guys. So, it's always a good session when I outlast the camera battery. That's like a good, a good moment. So the camera ran out of batteries when I was warming up, getting in the zone to retrack some bass guitars. So I listened back to the takes from yesterday, and they're okay. I mean, I think they could be really good with a little bit of processing. But as I was listening to them, I was like, okay, I'm not sure this is exactly like what I want the part to say. Um, so I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense, but like they were good parts. They were well executed, and it was a well written part, and it's funky. It has a good feel, and it hits you in a good way. But I was like, maybe I want to change the articulation a little bit. So I started messing around with that, and I came up with a new part. I mean, it's not like brand new, but I altered the part a little bit to get closer to the articulation I was hearing in my head. And then I had time, so I just went ahead and tried it out on the guitar, and then just went ahead and tracked a few takes right now. I think a couple of them were pretty good. I'm not sure if they're like bang on, but I'm getting deeper into my recording workflow. I'm learning. I'm pushing my boundaries, and that always is good, regardless of the outcome. I mean, I think just that's how you get better. Fall forward kind of thing. So. Yeah, that was great. I mean, it's just a lot of good energy. I can feel like a lot of inspiration and creativity flowing. and I feel like my recording workflow is getting more dialed in. I'm feeling really good about the way the rest of the track is sounding, and I want this part to be on par and like really take the track to the next level. So that's exciting, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. Oh, and there's my timer. So on that note, I hope you guys are out there grinding towards your goals. Let me know if you guys have any questions, anything you want to see me do a little bit differently in these vlogs, just say the word. And if there's something I don't want to do, I'll let you guys know. But otherwise, you know, I'm kind of doing this for me, but I'm also kind of doing it for you. So let me know what you guys would like to see, and just keep chasing your dreams, feed your inspiration, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.